Greetings. In this video, I want to discuss a couple of different subjects that we are dealing with as we are building our Sears homes in Revit. So I want to talk about the topo, the grass, the earth around the building, windows, doors, story heights, stairs, and columns. So a couple different items that we are dealing with. So let me talk first about the story heights, okay? So looking at a lot of student work, we're not given, so here I am in the Sears archives, some pictures, and we can get some details on some of these kind of quaint, nice old houses. So a lot of the student projects are coming in too tall, as I often see them. So a lot of these do have full second stories. So let's open up one here. So here, this is one of their bigger houses. So we do have a full second story here, and then we actually have a third story, which is an attic. I suspect an attic. But some houses do not have full second stories. So this, I think, is a good example. It doesn't even really appear. If I zoom in, I don't even think it has a staircase to the second floor, which is odd. Maybe it's just an attic, but regardless, the point is still relevant here. So this house, for instance, is a partial second story, I would call it. So we're on the ground floor, we'll call that 00 down here on the sidewalk, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 risers at about 7 inches each, so that's about 35 inches. We'll call it 3 feet for it, just to round. So the porch, we could say, is at 3 feet above the 0 mark. Then we would have, when we go into the house, we'd have an 8-foot ceiling height, we'll say, and then a foot of structure, so that when we get up here to this attic space or second floor, we'd be standing on a structure. So we're at 0, 3 feet, 8 feet to the ceiling, and another foot for structure. So that's 3 plus 8 plus 1 is 3 plus 8 is 12 feet. So right here we'd be standing 12 feet above the sidewalk. The second story walls only come up another 2 feet, it appears, here on the outside. So the second floor bearing height, right, this is the bearing wall. These roof rafters are coming down and bearing here. I would put that bearing wall up at about 12 feet only. All right, so some students are drawing their second stories as complete full stories, and that's just not the case. So here you'd be able to stand in the middle of this attic space, but not here at the end. That would just be for storage and closets. Okay, so not a full second story. So obviously you have to take a look at your own. Here's another one. Whichever house you've chosen to build. So this is the same one, actually. Or not the same one, but the same kind of situation. Just an attic space. You probably could barely even walk. This one's even shorter than the last one. But you have to look at your own and make that determination. So here's one. Let's take a look at this one. So we do have a second story. We have stairs up. But the habitable space where you could actually walk would be not all the way out here, of course. You know, so these roofs are coming all the way down to the first floor. So again, I wouldn't call this a full second story. Some of this space is not habitable, and you could see it here with the amount of roof that they're showing on the second floor plan. Okay, so it kind of, you know, you have to study the images and make that determination. All right, so that's on the subject of story heights. Okay, let me go into Revit here. Actually, we could look at another floor plan quickly. So yeah, they don't show door swings in these plans. They don't. I'm not sure why they don't do that. Let's see if any of them show anything. No, they don't. They just show openings without doors. So that's a little misleading. I guess in advertising they want to make these rooms look more spacious and not clutter the drawings. They're probably very small drawings in these advertisements. So that's kind of convenient and misleading, I would say, not to show any door swings. But Anyway, again, looking at some student work, so let me bring up Revit here. So this is a house I began to build, a little Sears house. Let's take a look at the first floor plan. So a lot of students are putting 3-foot doors, or you call 3-0, 3 feet, 0 inches, or you say a 3-0 door. That's too big. That's too big for any residential house, really. The front door, today, a front door is 36 inches. These Sears houses, I'm not even sure if they had a full 3-foot door when they were built. That sounds kind of generous. We like 3-foot doors now to get furniture into the house, but interior doors, residential doors, should be 32 inches wide. Okay, especially in these old, smaller houses, and they had a generous amount of doors, too many doors in a lot of these houses, and when students are building them, and I'm seeing them, they're filling them with these 3-foot doors, they're just getting way too crowded. So 32-inch doors are that's the answer to that question for interiors, and closet doors could be even smaller. And let's see, so here's a little closet. So they were not very generous with their closets. So I would say closet doors could be as small as 2 feet. You kind of have to use your judgment and kind of gauge. You know, if that's a 32-inch door there, that is a much smaller one. 30 inches, 2'6" perhaps, is a good number. Okay, so more modest door sizes so that the buildings don't get particularly cramped. Okay. All right. So that's doors and windows. Let's talk about windows as well. So let me bring back up where we were. So if I Google residential window heights, this is one diagram that I like a lot. I'm gonna zoom in. Let's see. I think I saved it. Well, that'll suffice. I could just look right here. You could say, so this is a good illustration of residential window heights. And again, we don't have a lot to work with our Sears houses. We have limited amount of information. We got our floor plans, and then we just have one 3D view of it. So, so again, you have to do some head scratching and kind of figure out what makes sense. But I think this will be helpful. So in general, window heights, both on the interior and the exterior, of course, it looks best in both places. Typically, the window head will align with a door height. So here we have 7-0 doors, and we bring the windows right up to the same. Now, when we're in Revit and we have to place our windows, right, here's our window. And just before I go any further, windows should all be double hung windows in these old vintage houses, okay? Let's see. Yeah, I think that's the safest bet. There could be some other varieties, perhaps, but I doubt it. I think these are all probably double hung windows. So that's an important point for starters. Bring Revit back up here. So double hung windows. None of the other versions. No fixed windows, awning windows, casement windows. Go with the double hung, the most traditional ones. Then when they get placed, they obviously get tied, connected to a floor, and then you put in the sill height. Okay, so this window is 46 inches tall, and it has a sill height of 3 feet. So now to go back to here. So you would have to do some math to figure out where the sill height should be. So if all the windows are coming up, if we want the top of the window to be at 7 feet, then it depends on the height of your window. So you have to work backwards. So 7 feet minus 4'6" gives you a sill height of 2'6". Okay. If you are in a tight little dining area, and yes, you may perhaps want to get your kitchen table or dining room table up against a window, then you might only have a 4-foot window. So the 7 feet minus the 4 feet gives you a sill height of 3 feet, like in my example. Or if you are in a kitchen with kitchen cabinets and you have a backsplash behind the sink that goes up to 3'6", then you're only down to a 3'6" window. Okay, so this is a great guide to explain this. So from the outside, all the window heads and door heads should align, and then depending on, of course, looking at the variety of homes, you're going to have to, again, just kind of use your judgment to determine, are these, and most of these windows are nicely proportioned. They're pretty tall and generous in size, actually. Even in the more modest houses, they're not very small and boxy windows. They're pretty generous in their height. So I would not, except for that kitchen area, I would expect windows that are probably about 4'6" in height. This is what I would probably gravitate towards. Not too many boxy windows like that. All right, so 4'6" I think is a nice height. Okay, all right. So that's windows and doors and stories that we discussed. Now let's talk about stairs in old houses. So I actually found this program here that I kind of like, Sketchpad. So I just put in, I just wanted to find some sketch software. This is kind of handy. So stairs. So let's just draw a staircase. Not particularly pretty. So this height right here, the height of the step, that is the riser, R for riser. And ideally today it is 7 inches tall. And this dimension is the tread, and that is ideally 11 inches. Those are the magic numbers, 7, 11. In a big commercial building with a very tall staircase, or perhaps in a stadium, you could see 6-inch risers. They are safer, especially in a big staircase. You know, if somebody ever fell, you'd ideally have a shorter step. And it makes it more comfortable for tall flights of stairs. But if you reduce this from 7 to 6, then you have to add additional steps to cover the height, right? So, so again, in a commercial building or a stadium, they plan for, of course, and could provide, they need to provide the space for that entire length of stairs. So up it goes. And by reducing the height of a step, then the overall length gets longer. In a residence, in a house, we don't want the stairs to take up any more space than necessary. So 7 and 11 is a good, comfortable, code-compliant numbers. However, in our Sears house, they were not 7-11. I highly doubt that. Judging by the floor plans and the experience of students trying to build these things, if we start with the 7-11 stairs, our staircases are getting way too long. In plan, they're only showing us, this amount of space. And then when you put in the 7-11, the stairs are running into other rooms, and it's just not working. So we have to cheat, so to speak, and modify these. So in order to fit more steps in, we could make it 8 and 10. All right, and that is more dangerous and not code compliant these days. So it's a taller step, which we don't like, and it's a smaller tread, which we also don't like. All right, but this will allow you to fit in more steps in a shorter space. Okay, and that's probably how these Sears homes were built. And I already made that modification to my own, so let me cut a section here. It did not produce a section for me. Not cooperating. Strange. I don't know why that would not be cooperating with me. Anyway, I'm not going to take time for it. It doesn't change the story. So here is my staircase, and you could see it's an assembled stair, and it comes right from Revit, right out of the box with that 711 built in. So the 7 is a maximum riser, meaning Revit's not going to allow you to make one any taller than that. It's not going to allow you to make that 8-inch riser. So what we have to do is jump into edit the type, and we have the calculation rules. And it is saying that that maximum height is set at 7 inches. So we would have to come in and override that and make it 8 inches. Okay? And the tread depth was 11, but it looks like I already came in here when I built it and cheated it and made it all the way down to 9 inches. So that's quite a bit smaller, uncomfortable. But this is what you'll need to do to fit your staircase into your Sears house. And then we could apply and say, okay, and that'll allow me to get in that tighter staircase. Okay, so that is stairs. Also columns. We don't have a lot of options for columns in Revit. So I could use a porch column myself here. So we would go to Insert, Load Family, Columns, and the Doric column is a decent column for these houses. It seems kind of appropriate. You could also build your own columns. You could do a simple brick pier, just a thick wall essentially, and then you could put a simple round column on it or a wood rectangular column. Some of the Sears houses, let's take a look again. Some of them have these kind of craftsmen here. Yeah, so rectangular, these are actually kind of tapered, but these kind of nice craftsman double columns. This would be very easy to build just with a wall essentially. Build a big, I would just make, and also just like a fireplace. Also, while I wanted to talk about that, we could just make these essentially like 2-foot walls. Same with a pier. You could just make an oversized wall and turn it into a pier or a chimney. And then if you wanted to put 2 square or rectangular columns on top of that pier, that's another way to kind of build your own. But out of the box, we could also use these Doric columns that are appropriate. So here, for instance, see, this is just these would just be a rectangular or square column. Really, no frills there. But some of them do have some more elegant columns here. So again, they're on piers, but they are that kind of Doric column, the round with the a little detail on the top. So again, you have to look at your particular house and make that determination. So wood and round, if you're rectangular, square and round are available if you're going to custom build something. And Doric is a good option for kind of a little bit on the fancier side, I would call it, for a residential Sears house. These are modest houses. So that was put in. Then we could come to columns. Here are architectural columns, and then we drop, and there's a Doric column there for us. And the wood and the rectangular ones are loaded. So this is a 16-foot tall column with a 10 2/3 inch diameter. So that is a big column right there. I'm not sure why that top round part didn't show up. That's peculiar. That is odd. Maybe it is. Maybe this piece is actually just the base, and then you have to add the round to it. But anyway, regardless, and all our different versions of Revit often seem to have different pieces to build from anyway. But the real moral of the story here is that we could adjust these just like any other components. So we would duplicate, rename it, and here is our dimensions. So it's an 18-inch thick column, and it has a particular neck diameter, I guess, up towards the top where it kind of tapers down. But this could all be adjusted, okay? So you should not have such jumbo columns. I don't know why Revit has such a limited number that comes in with the package as is, but they could be adjusted as well, okay? All right, so that is columns, stairs, windows, doors, and full stories. Okay, so that covers that. And the last thing I want to talk about briefly is the topo, which is our grass or yard, whatever. And this, we could apply a material to this, just like we could paint it, essentially, and apply any material to it. So I'm going to jump over to my first floor plan, where we can't see it. So site is where it typically comes in, and is where I typically view it. I had that selected, so here we are in the site, and if we're having trouble finding it, I jump into the view range, and the view depth I have level below, but we could also just put that right down to unlimited. All right, site, and then view range, edit, level, look down and to the bottom, the very, very bottom. And then we could say, okay. And then you should be able to see your site from that point. Okay. And then when I select, I have my topography, and I could edit. I'm going to show you how to put this in, but I just want to show you, because I have an existing one, what exactly it looks like. And then I click on it, and it is composed of all of these little points. And each point is given an elevation. So I placed 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points around my building. And when I select them, we could see that they are -1 foot. So they are 1 foot below the 0, 0 point. Okay? That's the ones at the house. And if I select all of them, or I guess it's jumping from one to the next, but they're all at the same. And that's typically where we would, well, it depends on your particular house, but in general, the earth should not come all the way up to the finished floor. So it's typically some distance below that finished floor. And we could look at the pictures of the Sears house again and kind of discuss that. But then, so these 6 points will set the elevation of the earth as it meets the house. And then here, I just did -2 feet, -1 foot there, -2. So I kind of jumped around. But the moral of the story is, when we want the water to run away from the house, so it should be highest at the house, but not touching a wood floor. And then from there, it goes, it diminishes, and it runs water away from the house. So let's take a quick look. So this doesn't really show it that well. Let's see if we change the yeah, this isn't really going to show my my contour lines particularly well, but it is, suffice to say, running away. Let's see if we could see those. We should be able to see them here if we go there, edit. So let's actually change one and see what happens. So if I change this -2, let's do something kind of extreme, and let's make it a -8 feet. It still doesn't really want to show up there so well. So maybe that was too extreme, the way that it dropped it. Oh, that's inches, that's why. Okay. All right, yeah, let's do something here. Make that 4 feet. There we go. So that kind of creates a valley by pushing that 1 point further down. So let me just actually draw one of these things from scratch quickly for you. So I drew some walls over here. Let's jump back to our floor plan. Here's the house or structure. And then we would come to I'm still in this. Let's get rid of this. No, we don't need to save those changes. Massing site. Here we are. Topo. And then we are going to place points. And so again, it depends on your setup and how your elevation points are, but I'm just going to drop some points at -1 all the way around the building. And then I come here and I'll go to -3 feet. And I am on the first floor, that's why I don't see anything. And there's my site. Okay. Let me just do that one more time so we can see it properly. Topo, -1 foot, place point at the corners, place points -3 feet, and then it starts connecting the dots. Give it the green light, jump into 3D, and then we have a structure that will shed water away from it.